Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live Show by Sobirovs Law Firm. My name is Rakhmad Sobirov. I'm the managing lawyer of Business Immigration Law Firm here in Toronto. Today, as usual, we are broadcasting live, and I have a privilege and honor to welcome our guest, the CEO of Pycap, Stuart Browne. I will make a quick introduction. Just as a housekeeping item, this is live streaming. If we get disconnected, please come back to the same location. So let me introduce our guest, and he wears a lot of hats. He's a CEO of a startup incubator slash venture capital firm and private equity firm called Pycap. He's also an adjunct professor at the business school, Schulich Business School at York University, and he does a lot of mentorship, and he's also a serial Canadian entrepreneur. So Stuart, welcome to the show.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great honor to have you, and I know we are in the same city right now. However, due to the arrangements, we decided to go live through webcam like this. And welcome to the show again. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks.
Excellent. And today, dear listeners, the audience is, from international audience from different parts of the world. You have a great opportunity to ask questions to Stuart from different dimensions, from CEO dimension, from a startup business incubator dimension, from startup visa dimension, and all the perspectives. So I have a list of questions, but you are welcome to send your questions as comment. After we do some introduction, and Stuart has a small presentation to share with us today. So Stuart, let's kick off with this. Tell us about yourself briefly. And I'm being here as someone who doesn't know you, although I've read a lot about you, but tell us about yourself and we'll kickstart with that. Thank you.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, you did a little bit of an introduction, so I'll just elaborate.
Yeah.
So yes, my company Pycap, I'm the CEO and founder of that company. We are a venture capital firm and an incubator. On the venture capital side, we have about $18 million in assets under management. We currently have 12 portfolio companies. One of those portfolio companies is called ChargerQuest, and I'm also acting as the chief financial officer, and I'm one of the co-founders as well. That company is about 3 years old. We've raised over $4 million in financing. We have over 130 connected electric vehicle assets deployed and operated by us throughout 7 provinces in Canada. So we're quickly becoming the fastest growing charge point operator in the country. In addition to that, I'm an adjunct professor at the University of Toronto. I teach a course called Venture Capital and Private Equity. I'm also an adjunct professor at the Schulich School of Business, where I teach Master of Finance and MBA students.
That's great introduction. I couldn't do it better because today's topic is about startup visa overall. However, we have the privilege to ask you questions from different perspective and dimension. So please bear with us. Our audience is very curious to ask their questions. They can start typing right now. So I'll give you the floor, Stuart, to give us a brief introduction in terms of what do you do at Pycap, and share your screen with us, and I will do some technical adjustments right now. Please go ahead, Stuart.
Sure.
Okay, let me do this. All right.
Looks like it's working.
It's working, yes. I do it on the fly, so go ahead.
Okay, sounds great. All right, well, hello again, everyone. It's great to connect with all of you here. I drafted up a small presentation just to give you a highlight version on this special immigration program called the Startup Visa Program. And I'm also going to give you some advice in terms of how you can get involved and dovetail into a little bit of information about Pycap and kind of what makes us unique. And by the way, I think you're able to ask questions to me along the way. So if you have access to a microphone, or you could type the questions in the chat box, I'd be happy to address those questions. All right, so we went through my background already. One thing I didn't mention actually is that I'm on the investment committee of an Ontario government-backed fund, with about 350 million in assets under management. And I do like kind of giving audience a little bit of insight in terms of where I come from, just so they could put the lecture into context. Because I want to show you that I'm bringing a few different perspectives to the table as we kind of walk through this presentation. One is on the investment management side. So really focused on early stage tech companies and looking at them like an asset that you might be investing in, whether it's your time, energy, focus, attention, reputation, or your own. At the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, you should, and you're running a corporation, you should be looking to get some sort of financial return out of it within a certain period of time. And then, of course, in addition to that, my role as a co-founder and chief financial officer of ChargerQuest, I like to give the other side of the negotiation table, as we call it. So not just on the investor side, but on the entrepreneurial kind of operational side, in terms of like mapping out that trajectory in terms of how to grow your business as fast as possible. And then, of course, my background with the government-backed fund, I like to give a little bit of government or economics kind of perspective into my lectures as well, just to give all of the audience like as much information and as much knowledge as you could possibly have in a particular topic as it relates to your business or the opportunity that you're pursuing. Okay, so as you heard, I'm an adjunct professor and at an MBA school. And so, of course, I have to talk about the Canadian economy a little bit. So I'm going to use that as an opportunity to kind of build up to our understanding of this thing called the Startup Visa Program, where it came from and why it's so valuable to Canada. So as you are probably aware, Canada is a very highly developed country. We're actually ranked number 9 in the world in terms of gross domestic product. Natural resources is one of our largest industries. And some examples of that, we have the third highest reserve of natural resources at $33.2 trillion, third largest petroleum reserves, fourth largest petroleum exporter. Some of you may not think of Canada and petroleum in the same frame of mind, but our population is quite small. We only have about 37 million people in it. And it just so happens that small businesses, which are mostly not in the resources sector, make up 70% of the jobs and contribute to about 40% of the GDP. So if we're thinking about startup tech companies, entrepreneurship, immigration, why are we talking about natural resources? Why are we talking about the Canadian economy? Well, the thing is that for those who are in a country that is heavily reliant on natural resources, the issue is that natural resources have a finite time horizon, meaning there's only so much gold or iron ore you could dig out of the ground in northern Ontario or Quebec. There's only so much petroleum you could extract out of the tar sands in Alberta. There's only so many trees you can mow down in British Columbia before, of course, you run out of trees, natural oil, iron ore, gold, etc., etc. So that's a very risky situation for an economy to be in, reliant on these natural resources that one day will be fully depleted. So if you're the government of Canada, you're going to be thinking, how do I protect the Canadian economy against that? How do I give the Canadian economy more longevity? And if I was going to focus on supporting a sector to do that, what would be the best sector to focus on? Well, I mean, the proof is in the numbers here. Small businesses are a huge value add to the Canadian economy. When we talk about economic features like employment, and we're looking at small businesses contributing to 70% of the jobs, you could see why it's important for the Canadian economy, for the Canadian government to support small businesses through grants, tax opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. In addition to that, if you're going to dig a little deeper and think, okay, well, what among small businesses has the fastest growth potential? Where can we get the best bang for our buck? If we put an investment into something, What sector can grow the fastest and create, improve standards of living, uh, improve exports overseas, etc. Well, that sector would be the tech sector, because only in the tech sector can you see situations where a young tech startup can go from a very low valuation, maybe from $0 to $1 million, to be all the way at unicorn status, worth a couple $1 billion within just a few years. So now we kind of understand, okay, why does the government want to support small businesses? Within small businesses, why do they want to support startup tech companies? And then let's take another look at another feature of the economy. 37 million people in this huge nation. Look at the map of Canada. The population is clustered around the border with the US. So we have a lot of space to fill. And if we're going to bring in immigrants, which is a very important element of Canada's whole growth strategy, the theory is if you bring in these entrepreneurs who are running these high potential growth tech companies like tech startups, then that could be a great opportunity to attract kind of the best minds from around the world to create amazing innovation on our home soil here, as opposed to doing it in India or Vietnam or Dubai or the US or the UK or wherever. Because Canada, of course, this program is a little bit self-serving. Canada wants to have the innovation based here. So I like to emphasize that a little bit to any applicant who's looking to fill in and submit an application for the Startup Visa program, because I want to empower you. I know it's a very stressful situation. In fact, I can think of very few situations that would be more stressful than uprooting your entire life, your entire family, and parachuting into a brand new country where you're kind of starting from scratch in terms of establishing a business or a community there. And so within that kind of highly anxiety driven scenario, it's important to remember that Canada has a lot to gain from you being here. We get all of these things, all of these economic indicators, job growth, GDP growth, standard of living growth, with the innovation that you create to solve the world problems. And Canada wants to have those brains, that in mind. Canada's startup visa program.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more information. Do you want to touch on that a bit, or?
Oh no, I think Stuart, what we're gonna do is I'll let you finish the presentation, and I'm gathering all the questions from my audience right now, and I'm preparing it for you. Let's finish the presentation, and then we'll delve into startup visa program, because one aspect of our conversation today is startup visa, but the other aspects are entrepreneurship in Canada, your advice, your experience, your challenges that you had to overcome as an entrepreneur too. So we need to cover a lot of ground. So I'll let you finish with your presentation and we'll take it from there.
Okay, sounds great. So for those of you who are a little bit new to the startup visa program, it's a pathway for you to receive permanent residency. And the start of this whole process is to receive this highly coveted letter of support from what's called a designated organization. And so Pycap, our incubator, is a designated organization registered under the Startup Visa program with the federal government. So we are an entity that can provide you with this letter.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much, Stuart. You've answered almost like 70% of my questions here. So, but I will start with the very common questions that I'm being asked as a business immigration lawyer. How important is language and language tests, or knowing the English language or French language for that matter, for the startup visa applicant in your experience?
Okay, so in my experience, there's as long as the applicant meets the eligibility requirements for the language tests for IRCC,
Mm-hmm.
that is sufficient for us.
Okay. I see. So that's
And
IELTS 5, the English language test 5. That's the
that's
score,
right.
yes. And second is we've seen, and you pointed out, Stuart, correctly, there are so many rejections and federal court cases these days related to startup visa program, and where applicants allegedly pursued immigration status rather than running the business. And now we see regular reports being required by IRCC, like 3 months, 6 months reports showing that you are doing something on your startup visa even before arriving to Canada. So at our law firm, we always say you concentrate on your business, immigration will come later. And if you work hard on the business, immigration is one of many outcomes at the end of the tunnel. What can you say in that respect? For example, there are certain applicants where they say, "Oh, startup visa takes 30 months, and I'm now in my home country. I just have to sit and wait for my PR to come, and then I will push the shovel to the ground when I'm in Canada."
Yeah, that's if someone has that perspective, then they've definitely been misinformed.
Uh-huh.
Rakhmad, I can't agree with you more. It's important to focus on your business, and quite frankly, again, what I've seen from the IRCC, it's not good enough to just say I'm in my home country and
Yeah,
I have to be in Canada to start my business. There's so many things that you can do remotely to get your business off the ground, even if it's a bricks and mortar retail store on Queen Street in Toronto. You could do research, you could establish partnerships, you could source products and make a plan on how you're going to develop your business further. And again, that's why I keep emphasizing, I guess, to choose the designated organization correctly. Because if they have a virtual incubation program and a structured platform that builds on itself over that period of time, then that's a huge amount of reassurance for the entrepreneur that they're receiving the guidance necessary to make sure that they are actively engaged in their business as IRCC wants to see it.
absolutely. That's a very good comment, and we see more and more evidences to that active engagement in the business from the federal court, who's supporting the decision to reject the person who was just sitting for the last 2 years doing nothing on the startup. And coming from the startup environment, how important it is to move fast with your project, because you cannot wait for 2 years or 24 months to put the shovel into the ground, right? It's a fast-paced environment, as you said. 10x is expected from growth within 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So when I said the 10x expected growth, I wouldn't say that IRCC is looking for 10x. I just say, like, as a rule of thumb, if you're
As
in
a
the
rule
kind
of
of universe of venture capital, that's what you should be targeting for. If you get 2x or 3x, that's still a successful outcome, depending on the type of business you're in. When we think of the term speed, I would say more focus on like a pragmatic approach to growing your company in a way that makes sense to your business model and the industry that you're operating in. So that's okay. So coming from the perspective as an entrepreneur, every company is totally different. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to rush a product to market because it might not be ready. You're worried about your reputation if there's bugs or other issues that haven't been worked out. In some cases, it does make sense to bring a product to market as fast as possible. What you need to do is do a thorough analysis on your company, the opportunity that you're pursuing, and do what makes the most sense for your business. Because I could tell you, if you get sent to peer review and you're asked these difficult questions, if you're an entrepreneur who's been actively involved in your business, you understand your industry, you're getting the right guidance, you'll be able to address those questions in a way that makes sense for your company, not for some standard that someone else is kind of thinks of. Because you can't
Yeah,
be an expert in everything. They're really looking for the entrepreneur to be an expert in their own field.
I see. So in a nutshell, can I simplify it and say startup visa program is a high touch program? You don't you don't sit and wait. You keep on pushing the needle forward. Is that the correct description for the startup visa program in your
Yes,
perspective?
I think that's a great way to put it. I agree
Okay.
with that.
Okay. And now the second question that I often am being asked is, and you are the best person to respond to that, is when I come to Canada with my startup on a work permit, I start working on it, but I realized that what I'm trying to do, either it's not feasible or it's too difficult. How do I pivot? And does your incubation program and your mentorship help them to pivot to the right direction? Because their expectations were this way, but apparently it's this way. So how if you can also address this from the startup visa program, is government okay when you pivot from your original plan to the next?
Signing
There's
up to a designated.
sorry, Stuart, to interrupt. There was a glitch in your voice. Can you repeat the answer from the beginning?
Yeah, no problem. It looks like there's a bit of a video delay, or I have two videos of myself on the screen. One's like delayed, the other one's not
Yeah,
delayed. It's kind
me
of
too,
messing
me
me up a
too. It's
little
an
bit.
internet connection, so we'll have to come up with a startup that solves this problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, again.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
if I turn off my video? Would that
No,
help at
no,
all?
go, no, go ahead. I think we're fine now. We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I'm seeing this delay on the video. Um, all right. So to answer your question, yes, a pivot is okay, and we help facilitate that because as entrepreneurs ourselves, we know that a company making a pivot, adapting to the changing demands of the market and your changing business plan is just a way of life of being an entrepreneur. So
Mhm.
that happens. And of course, IRCC, they're looking for entrepreneurs with the potential for success. And they don't necessarily expect your company to be successful in its current iteration right out of the gate. So they want to see that you are making every effort possible. If the line of business you're on is not working out, you're going to adapt to one that does work out. And of course, as entrepreneurs, we'll help you get there when you're in our program.
Excellent. So that's where I see the help and value of mentorship, because mentorship of those who've been doing business in Canada, guiding someone who's coming into Canada, saying that yeah, you should do this, you shouldn't be doing this, and so on. So the essence of mentorship, as you said, that Pycap offers, it's not necessarily hand holding, but the right guidance in that respect, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So now let's pick up some questions from the audience, if I may. Let's go. Greetings from India. Everybody saying hello to you from India. And here's a question from Mr. Nanda. What is the scope of the medical equipment business in Canada? And I will paraphrase that. Do you deal with medical sector or medical startups at Pycap? So if you can combine these two questions.
Okay, so Bhupinder, thanks so much for your question. I'm actually going to India within 3 weeks to
Oh
visit,
wow,
do some
that's
business over
great.
there. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to be in Mumbai and New Delhi. So
Excellent.
to answer your question, our incubator is industry agnostic.
Mhm.
Our litmus test, or the one thing that we look for, is to make sure that the applicants coming in are going to have a good chance of passing IRCC and getting their permanent residency. And so once the entrepreneurs are in our program, of course, with our extremely broad network, we're able to facilitate guidance in whatever category the entrepreneur is in, including medical equipment, where we do have a lot of experience in that.
And how about the med tech sector? What's your view in Canada, maybe North America? And pandemic taught us that we need a lot of med tech to address sudden widespread disease and pandemics in the future.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Bhupinder, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. It happens to me all the time with my international students in front of an audience too, which is little embarrassing at times. So sorry if I mispronounce your name. But anyways, healthcare is one of the biggest industries in Canada. Likewise with financial services and you're choosing a great country to come to if you want to build your medical equipment. Canada, as I'm sure you know, has some of the highest standards in the world in terms of Health Canada approval of medical devices and drug creation, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you're definitely coming to the right place in that regards.
Okay, great. And Bhupinder had some questions about English language tests, but we addressed that. The next is here's I think it's a question more on the legal side, but I'll put it out there. Thank you for the information, by the way. Great presentation. Negar is wondering if you still will be able to send application for C11, for example. And I think it's we are talking about startup visa, but C11 is one of the ways to get work permit while PR is being considered on the SUV startup visa program. And I think, do you want to tackle that?
No, because this is a little bit more immigration related. I'll let you handle that one if that's okay.
If this is a case of a mobile shop owner who wants to do the same here due to the new changes, I think this is not our topic today, but Negar, I will get back to you on this because it's C11 significant benefit work permit and it's not covered under the startup visa program topic today. Excellent. And just a technical question here, Stuart. How do they contact you to discuss that with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
With your team?
Yeah, well, you could go to pycap.com, so pycap.com, and you could access me through the website there. There's a contact form, or you can email us at info@pycap.com. You just put my name in the subject line, and maybe even reference Rakhmad's amazing webinar here, and then my staff will make sure that I receive it.
Excellent. And now related to Suresh's point, and great question is, what are the criteria do you use to evaluate a potential startup visa applicant for your incubation program? The main three points, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So just for clarity, I know some people think, okay, Pycap's a VC fund, so they're going to have a really high standard. Well, we're looking at it from the perspective of our incubator. So our job is to get your company up to that standard. And in addition to that, the most important thing to us is you being successful with your permanent residency. So we evaluate you based on what we feel IRCC is going to evaluate you on. So we look at you as the individual, as the team. We say to ourselves, okay, with this business that they're looking to run in Canada, does it look like the management team can execute on this based on their track record, their experience within this industry? We look at the innovation within your business idea or your startup, and we say to ourselves, is this innovation that would qualify for IRCC? And it doesn't always have to be software or AI or all those kind of things that we tend to think of nowadays in terms of innovation. There's a lot of other criteria that are out there, like machine related, process related, operations related. It just takes having some conversations with someone who knows what they're doing to kind of identify that maybe you have a company right now that has elements in it that is innovative and would qualify with IRCC. And you don't need to hire someone to create a fake business for you. And you don't need to hire a software developer to create innovation for you. You might already have it and possibly not even be aware.
As a side note and maybe side question, Stuart, does Pycap or your team help those entrepreneurs, foreign entrepreneurs, who are not interested in startup visa program or immigration status, but they want to enter Canadian market / North American market? Can they still contact you outside of startup visa program?
Absolutely. Like if you go on our website, pycap.com, you'll see that we have a whole division that provides consulting services, everything
Mhm.
related to business strategy, accessing markets, and then, of course, accessing external capital. So if you're looking for investors or connect with distribution channel partners here, or whatever the case may be, we could facilitate that in Canada as well as through the US.
Okay, there are some questions not related to business to startup visa program, and our guest Stuart Browne is not the best person to like answer purely legal questions, but I will get to them in due course. Please leave that as a comment, okay? And here's another question from Tanwir Zaki. Do we need to have our own business idea, or you can propose it as a part of your mentorship? That's been covered, I guess, with the Suresh questions from Suresh. And here we go. Tanvir says, can we have an IT consulting company as a startup?
Usually, IRCC does not want to have consulting companies because consulting companies, there's no, they would see it this way. You don't own innovation within the company. All of the value within that business is individuals and what they're able to facilitate for their clients. But the company doesn't itself own its own innovation. So you'll have to think through that process if you're considering a startup visa program.
Excellent. And the questions that we gathered from the audience in advance of this interview is electrification of vehicles. Where do you see this is going? Is Pycap interested in more startups in this area? And what's your thought about electrification in Ontario, in Canada, and go beyond Canada, North America?
Okay, yeah, great question. Obviously, a little bit related to that one of our portfolio companies, ChargerQuest. So, it's when I started ChargerQuest with my business partner 3 years ago, which is not a long period of time. We were looking to raise money and speak to investment bankers, and some of them were like, "This is never going to work." I like driving my Mustang or my Ford pickup truck. And even today, like when we have events, we'll be in Kelowna, for example, and have our charging stations and the radio station near us doing a big presentation to welcome us to Kelowna. There'll be truck drivers honking their horns angrily and trying to disrupt us. So basically, the writing is on the wall in terms of electrification of vehicles. If you look at all the major automotive companies, from our research, all of their new research and development has been completely guided towards EV, so electrifying all of their cars. So, and then there's some regions, provinces in Canada, states in the US, that they're saying things like, we're going to ban the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles by whatever year, 2035 or something like that. And
Mhm.
so, those of us in this industry, we feel like the electrification of the automotive sector is a massive tsunami that is coming. It's going to completely revolutionize so many things in terms of how we travel, and there's essentially no stopping it. And that's part of the factor why we've been successful with ChargerQuest is that people want to get involved. They want to ride this rising tide.
Mhm.
So
And
that's
plus to that, Stuart, I think you would agree that creating the batteries for these vehicles is something very interesting when you consider Canada has lots of natural resources that are the ingredients of those electric batteries for the cars, right? So that's another side economy, let's say, not only electrification, but the raw materials for the electrification is something
rare
that.
earths. Yeah, it's all important. All the ancillary opportunities are all ones that should be carefully considered. And of course, I mean, not that I need to say it at this point, but a hard yes to being interested in any company that's related to EVs.
Okay,
Okay,
now, Stuart, it's been 1 hour that we are talking, and I really appreciate. I have some very quick blitz questions, if you
sure.
allow me, because it's your background is very interesting for me personally, and the fact that you are teaching theory to students, then implementing that theory on the ground with your own businesses, then helping others with refining the business and bringing them to Canada. That's a very unique combination. So thank you for taking the time today. What made you start a business incubator as a on a personal level? Why you are doing what you're doing?
Well, we, as a venture capitalist and someone who just loves working with entrepreneurs and business, it allows us to access some of the best minds from around the world. I can't, like when we have a virtual incubator seminar and we have 40 people in the seminar and somebody's from Nigeria, someone's from Iran, someone's from Dubai, someone's from Brazil, someone's from Botswana, and we're all in this incubation seminar online, tuning in at the same time, asking questions to the advisor, and having such amazing discussions among different cultures, different political backgrounds, different stages of development. It's such a privileged experience that I find myself in, and the entrepreneurs really gain from that too. So it gives me that kind of global outreach to bring in entrepreneurs, not just ones that are based in my backyard in Toronto, but all over the world. I could work with people doing amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And a second blitz question is, why entrepreneurs listening to us right now and who will be watching this video, why entrepreneurs should consider Canada?
Okay, Canada. Okay, I know these are blitz questions. Should I have blitz answers to these? Because
yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe.
Okay, Canada is one of the best countries in the world to start a business because we have a stable government, stable legal system that allows consumers to trust brands because they have the feeling that they're being looked after. There's all the support from the government, grants, tax credits, et cetera, to support innovation. And there's a really strong ecosystem here of investors, pipelines into channels to sell your products and get involved with different organizations to establish partnerships with banks, hospitals, educational platforms, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, I could really go on and on. This is so much more than a blitz. Canada's ranked like one of the best countries in the world. I think it was the 2021 Best Countries report for living here.
Yeah.
And but look, you could let me just touch on a couple of things. I know this is not a blitz type answer,
that's okay.
Look at some of the biggest companies in the country, like Shopify, for example. That company was valued at $238 billion maybe a year ago. And that was created by someone named Toby Lucky. So that company, tech startup in e-commerce, blew past all the natural resource businesses in Canada, blew past from a valuation standpoint, even the highest value banks like RBC and pharmaceutical companies, like the pillars of the Canadian industry. Here's this tech company that skyrocketed to success within a relatively short period of time. That company was started by an immigrant entrepreneur, Toby Lucky, who immigrated here from Germany. There's so many examples like that. And I mean, I could go on and on about why Canada is one of the best places in the world to create a tech company.
And welcoming immigrants too, as a whole, all stripes of political parties, they welcome Canada. They welcome immigrants to Canada all the time. We don't have that controversy between the political parties. Oh, I want immigrants, I don't want immigrants. So everybody wants immigrants, but then we differ in which immigrants we should bring first, and then the priorities are a bit different. But immigration has always been a welcome topic in this country.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And last but not the least, what advice do you give for aspiring entrepreneurs who are starting out right now, and what essential qualities they must have with respect to Canadian market? Maybe you can go into more specifics of Canadian market, North American market.
Okay, it's a pretty broad question.
Uh-huh.
You know what? I think that instead of me saying what skills and abilities you should have, what I'll say is look internally and see what skills and abilities you have, and
Mm-hmm.
then try to get advisors, partners, team members to fill in the gaps because we can't be experts on all things at all the time. So if you have an expertise in technology or finance or marketing, that's great. Those are all essential skills and team members to make a company successful. But just identify where your gaps are and then fill those in accordingly.
Great. Thank you very much. 1 hour and 20 minutes. Thank you. That was a very agile interview. I really appreciate your time, and I wish you a very safe flight to India. Bring more great minds from India, and beginning of May. So it's a great source of great minds as a country. Thank you very much for your valuable advice, tips, Stuart. I really, really appreciate it. And listeners, thank you for your active participation. If you have any questions, pycap.com is the website to go and learn more about Stuart's team and how they can help. Or you can also check out our website, Sobirovs.com, where we publish a lot of necessary and useful material for those who want to expand their businesses to Canada. Stuart, have a great day. Thank you very much. Any last words?
I'm sure. Last words is I'm really looking forward to meeting any of you who's on the call right now and learning about yourselves and your business and seeing if there's an opportunity for us to work together.
Perfect.
That's my final words. Thanks so much, Rob.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks,
Bye-bye
you
now.
too.
Thank you for
Bye.
joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.